Chairperson,
Question?
I've got all my members in, so we can start.
You in a minute. Colleagues, members, good morning. Can I get confirmation all members are ready to start? Member Gogo, are we ready?
Yes, Chairperson, thank you. Oh, sorry, my computer now wants to restart. Sorry, what a coincidence. But let me quickly do that. I think it will be about 2 minutes or so.
Yeah, I'd rather you do that because we need everybody here to be attentive. We are only 4.
Okay, let me just quickly do the restarting thing because it looks like I'm going to be forced to do it anyway.
Yeah, I'd rather do it. Member Shingangi, ready?
Yes, Chair. Deputy Chair.
Thank you. GSO? AGSO? Yeah, still elsewhere, but in the meeting. Okay, we will await Member Ngogo to restart and then we will start.
Members, Mr. Justice. Yes. We're waiting for you. Are we not co-reading?
We're just waiting for Kwena to come back. His machine was restarting.
Is Member Mahata here? Because he must join us.
We had an apology yesterday from him.
Oh, let me mobilize him to come and join now. So you need one so that we can co-read and do the business of the day.
Yeah, with Kwena, we have a quorum. It's just that we are tight, so we can't afford one person to even look aside.
Yeah. Okay, let me just get Mahata and just understand whether he can join us quickly.
Okay, sure.
Thanks, Chair.
Sure, thanks.
You can see what we're talking about. If you go to page, okay, let me just go down, 2008, actually from 2008. The recommendation is on 2609. The recommendation is there, but I just wanted to start 2608, where we just copied the clause from the advertised tender, of which is for the market analysis that we discussed the other day, where the committee was raising their point from. And then what happened is that on our previous report, when we're doing the allocation, we're not it was not talking to the 90-10 clearly. And also there were issue of the pricing that was raised by the BAC, or how did we deal with the price. On our previous report, if we check on our recommendation, we recommended that On item number 19, the bid evaluation committee recommended this tender of the price negotiation after approval by the BAC due to varying price from various service providers. And then after the came, because there were issues regarding that price, and we felt that the statement was not enough, we went back, we set as a committee, and then we focus on that issue of market analysis that we indicated above, and the issue of price negotiation that we indicated we pasted above the recommendation. Then we decided on the point that we put under 19 there under recommendation. After NB, we said that that under the price negotiation that we are recommending it as a BEC, that after approval by the BEC, that the team that should do the negotiation should be including the end user department, that will be appointed to determine the prices for each item on the bill of quantity, which will be offered to each recommended bidder. In other words, on this point, what we are saying, we looked at all the prices, they are too varying. And as I said, even the previous report when I presented, we invited the department. You could see that prices are not even making sense, because even their previous tender, they were indicating that they could not implement it the way. So then, based on that, with our research and understanding this, and with also following the clause of the market analysis and also price negotiation that were included on the advertised tender, then the committee ended up deciding that on the point there on the second point, that the city of Sweden offers the bidders the price as determined by the price negotiation team as a final offer on the appointment letter. Also that each bidder accept or reject the offer. In other words, the city will be doing that process with the team that will be appointed, because the department knows the price at the market, and then obviously will be coordinated by a supply chain. Then after they agreed with the price, whatever that it will be presented back to PAC after approval, then the service providers will be offered those prices, which means the city of Sun this time will be offering the service provider as stipulated if you check on the market and some of the clause up there where we pasted. So we'll be offering to the service providers whoever that all those service providers that went to the last stage. So that's the second point that you raised, and then we indicated it like that. And then if you go back to page 2625, you'll see that there was a third point where the committee indicated that you need to verify that the recommended bidders are 29 as mentioned on the page 106 of the report. Then we went and looked, we realized that the bidder 102 was erroneously captured twice. It was captured twice. And then bidder 186 only quoted for region 2. Therefore, the number of bidder that went through to the last stage are 30. However, obviously a bidder 186 will only be considered for one region, not the other region. The other 29 will be considered for all the regions. And then we listed them underneath that to respond to that. Thank you, Chairperson. If you check after that, at the end of the report, after on page 2610, you will see we indicated all the companies that we are recommending in terms of per region. Those are our recommendation for all the 7 regions, and we listed them with the pricing. Thank you, Chairperson.
Just quickly, how does this recommendation relate to your 9010 now?
Okay. What happened related to the 9010? If you check our 9010, the committee decided, as I indicated on the first on page. Okay, let me just go back there. on page 2606. Remember, we did in the 9010 for all the items per region. The 9010 was fine. The only problem was with the previous report was when it comes to the allocations. The chronology comes in terms of allocation of Jumda. So now the committee, as we indicated on the question that you raised to verify whether the committee are in line with the advertised specification. What we did, if you go up on the report where we did the 9010, maybe let's just go up, but it's gonna be, okay, let me just go, I'll tell you which page. This one, so that you, page. Yeah. Apology, Chairperson. Yeah, it took me a bit long. Can you see, members?
Yes.
Yeah. If you check, this is the 9010. You remember the tender is requiring us to award a region for 7 regions. So as I said, the committee decided to recommend everyone that went through on the to the pricing. So, but it depends whether you quoted on that region or not. Now, on this one, this is the region 1. These are all the bidders that our 9010 for all the bidders that bidded for this tender. These are all the bidders until this is region 1. This is region 2. So on region 2, as I alluded earlier, is that if you check out in terms of numbers, they are 30, they're not 29, because of this tender 108, because they bidded on this one. But on the other region, they didn't bid. So which means they will only be considered for that region. So now, based on that 9010, the committee is decided to recommend all these bidders that went through per region. And then again, second thing is that point that I was making to say, we also recommended that this tender be subjected for price negotiation, where the negotiation we even indicated we recommended things that need to be done to say it must be the department. As I said earlier, that we call the department in our meetings, but we realized that they would know how in terms of the pricing. We couldn't refer to the previous tender because they couldn't even implement it properly because of the issue of almost the same issue of price. So now it means the team need to be appointed, obviously led by the supply chain, but including, we are insisting that it must include those people because they've got the knowledge of know-how in terms of how to structure the prices of this and how much it might this costs per unit price, per BOQ of the tender. Then that committee were going to determine the price if the BAC approved our recommendation. After determining the pricing for each item per BOQ, it's going to come back to BAC to be presented to say this is the price that we determined. After being determined, those prices are going to be offered to all those services provided per region. who are, then those officers will have to accept or reject the offered price by the city. In other ways, they are the price takers, we are the price offers as the city because of the complexity of the pricing. Otherwise, it is still going to be having an issue in terms of the implementation of the prices. And this is the same thing issues that we tried to discuss, but we came and we end up coming out with this. This is the best way that we realize that it's going to be able to deliver this tender, and then we'll be able to have this tender. So it's based, it's in line with this 90-10 that is here, Chairperson.
So in simple terms, all the bidders that made 90-10 in the regions are being recommended for those specific regions.
Exactly.
Okay. Members, further questions? Please take us back to the recommendation while members think. So,
this is one to Chairperson.
Yes.
This thing seems to be shut down. I saw something for security thing. It will shut my laptop down in 10 minutes. I don't know if I will be done by that, but okay, let's continue.
We're almost done. Members, any questions? I think the last time in the main, okay, Jordan Coco?
These prices, are they per, what parameters are used here? Is it per square meter? Is it as and when, or is it, are these total prices for the duration of the contract? Pardon me if I'm missing something here.
BC Chair?
Okay, if you remember, Mr. Mpoko, okay, let me just, because you guys, you can see the report, just want to show. Okay, where I am now, this is the BOQ. Remember when we do the 90-10, we use the total price, né? But this is the BOQ. The BOQ is the same for all the 7 regions, one BOQ for all the 7 regions. So what is happening is that it's a rate tender. For example, per meter square, you charge the units price. That's why you see the quantities is 1, which means it's the rate tender.
Okay, well, that's fine.
Okay. Total of rates used to determine the 90-10, but it seems they are recommending all 29 service providers per region, except for, I think, region 2, where there's an additional service provider. And this is pending the further price negotiations that they are recommending. And from the presentation by the chair is that the team that will be appointed will work hard to arrive at a price that will be offered to all these bidders. And the negotiations would be a kind of a take it or leave it at the end of the day, because they would have invested some time and effort in working that out. BEC Chair, am I summarizing your presentation correctly?
Precisely, Chairperson.
Okay, members, further questions? Can we recommend that the tender be referred for price negotiations and that a team be appointed as proposed by the BEC to assist with price negotiations? Members?
Agreed from my side. Thank you.
Member Mzeo, I need your voice indication.
Agreed, Chair. Agreed.
Member Shingange? Did we lose him?
I think he had the restart incident a few minutes ago. I'm not sure if he was able to come back.
Ooh, we are in trouble. Yeah, it does look like we lost him. I'm going to have to wait for this resolution. But I think we have dealt with the substantive issues on the report. I wonder if he had any questions. So I'm gonna Yeah, we can't even proceed because we don't have a quorum. Oh no. Okay, we have to pause. Elsie, I see your hand is up. You wanted to raise a point earlier on. Oh, it's done. Thank you.
Apologies, Chair. It was up the time before you could actually say that the CME reports were going to serve today. So I just wanted to highlight that our reports have been moved so many times. So we really want to table them today.
No, we would look at them. I think it's important that we look at them. Ngavi, sorry, Mapope.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to check item 11, if you have passed it. Is cancellation?
Now we just started. We have agreed that we will we'll prioritize the agent items today.
Okay.
The AC will proceed tomorrow again, just to try and conclude the agenda as well.
Okay, no. So the item 11 will serve tomorrow.
Let's see how far we go today. But
Okay.
we have a very, very limited time, yeah.
Okay, no.
Today.
Thanks.
It's slow. Yeah,
Oh, he's back. Oh, thank you.
I'm back. Yeah.
Sorry about that. At the point of the bid for appreciation, and basically I had summarized that all the bidders that made 90/10 per region have been recommended by the BEC pending price negotiations, and that they have proposed a team that will formulate pricing that will be offered to these bidders. And the proposal from the BEC is that because they will invest time and effort to work on that, the negotiations would be a kind of a situation where the city offers the price for bidders, and they will either accept or not accept. So those who accept will then make the final recommendation following those price negotiations. So we were about to recommend that we do recommend this price. So this tender for price negotiations, and that a team be appointed as proposed to assist with price negotiations. I wonder if you have any comment or you are agreed. Member Shinange? You are muted if you are talking. Are you sure you can hear me now?
I can hear you now. This thing was battling. I was battling with the connections, Chair. I'm still going through. So I just wanted to check, Chair.
Okay.
Can I proceed?
Sure.
In terms of the price negotiations, remember there was an issue of the baseline that we spoke about, because I can't even open the report now. I depended on what Enos has presented here. Did we look at the list price that was offered in this respect and utilize it as a baseline for the purpose of negotiations, or how did we come to, because I take it that that was one of the areas, if I remember quite vividly, we deliberated upon in the last BAC, Chair. Thank you very much.
Well, his presentation is such that the team that is to be appointed, coordinated by SCM, would include the user departments, and that team will then work on that pricing, which pricing will then be proposed for price negotiations. BEC Chair, do you want to add?
Yeah, Chair, actually, that's the reason why we came to that conclusion, is that, as I indicated earlier when I was doing my presentation, that we looked at the prices with the department, invited them to the BEC, and then we realized that majority of them they can't even work on them. Even if you the cheapest, they can't even work on them according to the way they understand this thing to work. And we also indicated that we tried to do reference to the previous tender, of which they said they can't even implement it because of almost the same reason. Hence, the BEC recommended that to say for price negotiation, and we also stipulated that that must include, the team that is appointed should include the end user department, and then that end user obviously will be led by supply chain. Then after that, they will determine the pricing for each item on the BOQ as we stipulated on our report, to say this is the pricing that we can accept in the city of Tshwane. And then that prices, after they agreed, those prices are the ones that are going to be offered to those recommended service providers, and then the service providers will have to accept on or reject. As the tender when it was advertised, we looked at the issue, that clause that we indicated above there. Let me just, maybe for the sake of the member Shingange, so that we maybe is also understanding what I'm trying to talk about. Earlier when we started, we said, okay, these were the responses, but what I'm talking about now is that, can you see me, Shingange?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, I'm following
Yeah.
you. I'm following you.
Yeah, you see here, under market analysis, those clauses there, that's why we pasted them there to say our decision. We came and look at this, zoom into this that was advertised with the tender, and we realized that they still trying to obviously reserve the right to do the market related and
Enos, come back. We can hear you. Okay, he did say he was going to shut down in 10 minutes. I suspect it's that episode too. But basically what he was just explaining, Member Shingange, is that they are going to be using this clause because it does say you can offer the price with the service product that scored the most points, the second and the third.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I'm in Rava's offices. I indicated that my computer was shutting down.
Sure.
I don't know if because the members understood, but what we looked at that as I was indicating, and then we realized that what we can do because of the varying prices that the department also confirmed that they can be able to utilize, that we become price offers, and then the suppliers become the price takers.
Yeah, no. I comprehend clearly, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, so can we recommend the bid for price negotiations and that a team be appointed as proposed by the BEC for price negotiations? And obviously, once that is completed, then the report will come back, BEC, for finalization.
As recommended, Chair. As recommended, Chair.
Okay. Member Nkoko and Monseo still in agreement?
I have not changed my mind, sir. I agree.
Chairperson,
Yes, Pocha?
it's referred back, right?
No. It's as recommended. We're recommending the tender for price negotiations, and that a team be appointed as proposed in the resolution to conduct price negotiations.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Member Mzeo has agreed earlier, so I assume she hasn't changed her mind either. Next item, Pocha?
Chairperson, the next item is ROC 13, 2022-23, tender for appointment of service providers to perform and locate medium voltage cable faults in the city of Tshwane area of supply of a 3-year period on an as and when required basis. Chairperson, the item is tabled.
BEC Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, members. Yes, my name is Kaini Mpofu. Members, if I want to declare I don't have any interest on the item, I'm going to save. Unfortunately, I'm affected by flu, so members, if you don't hear me, please request I'll gladly repeat because this is a flu season now. I will start. I know we are running out of time. Chair, this is a further report. The report served on the 9th of March. I'll go back. I will go straight to the further report without wasting time, Chair. On the further report is on the on page 43 of 59. I don't know if members are there. Or I can share the report, members.
Going there, you saying page 43?
Yeah,
We're on page 43, Kane. It's fine.
Yes.
You can, yeah, I can. I'm on page 43, Chair. 3.
Yeah, 43 of 49. Members, as the report says, during the discussion there, these are the issues that the BAC noted, raised the concern that the report has a lot of errors that needed to be corrected. That discussion from the bidder just regarding the vast price difference be included in the report. That the bid evaluation committee ensures that the report brought all adjudication committees that had been checked. Thank you very much, members. We can see, these are the response we went through. The BAC addressed all the concerns of what the BAC has raised. Number one issue, the report at the top, it didn't have the correct members who were the members of the BAC. They didn't have the correct members, or it was corrected members. And let's go straight to the business to say, on the prices, on the vast of the differences in the prices, members, the BEC went to each and every bidder's bill of quantities, and it indicated per bidder to say, for instance, bidder number 17, if you see on item 7, conditioning testing of medical vault cables, which is line number 7, and then it also shows on sections 2, skills transfer of normal hours on line 2.5. So on each bidder, where their price abnormalities, we indicated where their price abnormalities, for that at least whoever will be doing the price negotiations, it becomes easy to say which items have got various prices that are actually out of the norm. So if we go there to page 44, Chair, then it said it was recommended by the bid adjudication BAC. It's recommended these the bidders, which were bidder number 17, and then the other bidder, if I go down, which is bidder number 2, which is Hoshi, with all its bill of quantities. The bidder number 16, next bidder there, bidder number 4, Tropo Construction, the next bidder being Tropo Construction, and then at the end, Chair, we are recommending that the bidders go through price negotiations. Even though we have highlighted in some areas where the bidders, we feel that the bidders have overpriced, analyzing each bidder, we are recommending that the bidders we are recommending to BAC that the bidders be taken for negotiations. Thank you very much, without wasting much time.
Chair, can I just quickly ask, does this affect all the bidders that are being recommended, or only a select few?
It affected that way. All the bidders that are recommended are affected.
Okay, so and in the main from this selection, I see it's basically 2 items that must be negotiated, or maybe 3. Item 6, item 7, and then section 2, skills transfer and safety. Those are the 3 items that have been flagged for price negotiations. Is that correct?
Yes, mainly skills transfer or all the bidders. You can see for all the bidders, the skills transfer, that's where the problem is.
Yeah, but then item 6 and item 7 are also included.
Yes.
Okay. Members, BEC is recommending that we refer the tender for price negotiations. In the main, they flagged item 6, item 7, and section 2 skills transfer as items with varied pricing. So please let's apply ourselves to that. Any comments?
Yeah. Thanks, Chair. Through you. I think Kane, that's the due diligence that we were essentially expecting from yourself when you presented this report for the first time. So to a greater degree, Chair, some of the concerns, that we initially raised have been really, taken care of in this report. However, I think the thing that when you do the negotiation, Kane, that you must consider, and I think it's always important that principle. I don't know how we're gonna call it, Chair, on the list price, because he makes a very important point that the impression that they also, identify from the report is that some of the, bidders might have underquoted for whatever reasons and others overpriced. So I think we must be very circumspect in terms of that price negotiation to ensure that we're not far, from the market when we really agree with those affected bidders going forward. But I think the report really, having read the first report, I'm quite happy to proceed with the price negotiation recommendation. And this is the standard and the quality that we should advocate for going forward. Thank you very kind.
Thank you very much. Members, Nkoko, Mzeo, comments?
I'm okay, Chairperson. Thank you.
Mzeo, covered?
I'm okay, Chair. I was just going through the last part of the report, but I'm okay for now.
Okay, members. I think let's propose that the CM appoints a price negotiation team led by DHSCM and the user departments to negotiate prices for this bid. In the main items that have been flagged for price negotiations are item 6, item 7, and section 2 skills transfer and safety, as proposed by the BEC. And obviously that team will then do due diligence in relation to what Member Shingagi raises around price being market related and that. As recommended, members?
And Chair, just to confirm, the other items not flagged are presumed to be reasonably priced. Am I correct?
I'm trusting the analysis of the BEC at this point in time.
Okay.
BEC Chair, comments?
The bill of quantity, members, will be relooked at its entirety. The whole BOQ will be looked at. Although we did look into it we did invite the department. We went through it with the department, and that's why we just highlighted some few. But the recommendation is that everything must be relooked into.
Okay, so because you see the recommendation in the report says you are recommending bidders for approval. So I think let's then just refer the report for price negotiations and request that a team led by the DH supply chain, including the user departments, or be appointed to conduct negotiations. Will that be fine, members?
Happy with that?
Agreed, Chair.
Okay. Member Shingagi, you covered, eh?
Covered, Chair.
Okay. Next item, Pasha.
Chairperson, item 1.3, ROC 6, 22-23, tender to appoint service providers for the repair of apparent works required due to the maintenance and construction of waterworks within Tshwane, 3-year period as and when required. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Thank you very much. BEC Chair.
Thank you very much, Chair and through Chair members. Chair, I'm going to present this item. Members, this item was actually presented before the BAC and approved. And the appointment letter upon implementation, if we go to the report on further report on 169 on your computer on the further report, I'm not sure, so that at 169 of 190.
You, Chair, can you able to flag it for us because the system is fairly slow? Yeah.
Okay, let me try and share, Chair. I want to share this report. This one. I want to share it with the PAC.
But this the report.
Yeah, that report. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 406 there. Go more 47. Yeah. Share. Yeah. I want. Wait to explain. And is it this one? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Members, can you see it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. As it yeah. So the problem was on the implementation of the tender. That's where the department realized that following the approval of and the award of the tender, upon implementation of the department discovered that 3 bidders, namely bidder number 10, Ndogo Private Limited, bidder number 30, Bedline Investment, and bidder number 69, Gibbs Construction, they wrote letters citing errors on their awarded letters. Upon review of the bid document, we noted that there were errors on capturing that their bill of quantities were captured, were not captured correctly. If we look at bidder number 10, they on first item, the amount that was captured, it was captured as 50 Rand instead of 250. That was the first item on B1.01.02. On the concrete thicker than 125 millimeters up to 200 millimeters. So it was captured as on the appointment as 50 Rand instead of 250, which is the correct one. On the second item, B2.05, the item was captured on the appointment letter as 5,500. Instead, it was supposed to be captured as a percentage to say it's gonna be the rate as per approved tax invoice. It's gonna be 10% of the approved invoice. not 5,500. So it was captured wrongly. Also similar to B3.03, it was captured wrongly as 5,500 instead of 10% of the tax invoice. Similar to item B6.01, it was captured at 5,500 on a point later instead of 10% of the tax invoice. And finally it was the B06. It was wrongly captured on the appointment letter as 2,500 instead of 10% of the tax invoice for bidder number 10, which is Ndogo. So this is the corrected bill of quantities for Undogo, where actually it now been captured correctly. We now move on to the next bidder. There were 3 bidders that were affected. Other bidders were captured correctly. Bidder number 69, GAPS Construction and Maintenance. On GAPS, on item 01.10, the tipper truck ton, it was captured as 310 instead of 370. On their on the appointment, it was 300 instead of 370. And then on item B, on second item B5, the 750 million, it was captured as 148,000 instead of 1,480. So it was captured wrong. The next item B5, it was captured on the appointment letter as 625. Yet the correct amount is 655. The next item, which is B17, was captured on the appointment letter as 270,000, that rate, instead of 270 rand. The last item, high density fencing panels, it was omitted on the appointment letter, and the correct rate there is 890. So below is the corrected price for GAPS. So we are going to the last bidder, which is Bedline. The last bidder, which is the bidder number 30, Bedline Investment. On Bedline Investment, on first item B9, backfilling, it was not captured on the appointment letter. Now is actually the corrected amount. We'll check. I'll show where it has been. The backfilling have been captured on B9 on the corrected bill of quantity. B9. B9. Backfilling. Before B6, backfilling. This is what it was omitted. Backfilling, which is 4,500. It was completely omitted. So members, the recommendation is this is a correction report to correct the figures that were some of them that were captured wrongly and some were omitted on the appointment letters. Thank you very much, members. The report is presented.
Member Nkoko?
Thanks, Chairperson. Just to find out, Chair, the errors, at what stage of the process did they occur? Is it at CM level? They just did not copy it correctly from the report, or was it at BEC level? And if the latter is correct, what is the implication of these errors on the actual award from a scoring point of view with regard to pricing? Thanks.
I see member is clapping.
It's a similar, I wanted to check the impact, but member Kwena covered me, Chair. Thank you.
Please, Chair.
Thank you very much, members. Yeah, the errors, members, it happened at the finalization when the 9010 was captured. That's where the errors took place, where when prices, now bill of quantities, were captured on the 9010, some were omitted, some were captured incorrectly on the winning bidders. Hence, the appointment letters were, when the bidders got the appointment letters were wrong on different margins. Some items being omitted, some captured wrongly. Instead of 1,480, 148,000 being captured.
Thank you, Chair. So basically, the errors happened at BEC evaluation level when they were capturing prices. Members, hence the report had to come through back to BAC. I did look at these documents myself when the complaint came, and I noticed that the BEC report had these errors as well. Hence, the appointment letters had the errors, and the advice was for BEC to reconsider and do a further report. Member
Chair, just to follow up immediately, then this does not have the impact on whether or not the service providers would have still been appointed or not. Can you just clarify that?
Yeah, the impact of the changes on the 9010 BEC, Chair, basically. That's what Member Nkoko is asking.
Yeah, maybe also just to amplify, is there any prejudice that has been suffered by any of the providers that could have qualified if these errors were not really, committed? Maybe also the issue of prejudice can just be answered along with the question of Member Kwena. Chair, thank you.
Through you, Chair, there is no bidder that suffered the prejudice as the result of the errors that happen, as the 9010 is done on the winning bidders, just to rank them. The 9010 is there to rank them, to say who is going to be number 1, number 2, number 3. So those bidders, they did qualify. All of the errors did not disadvantage any of the losing bidders. Thank you, members.
Chair, my last question, if you allow me.
Yes, Chair. Sorry, yes, member.
No, you are the chair. All right. Just from the decade, I just want to I see some prices were higher than they were supposed to be, others were lower than they were supposed to be. So my question is twofold. One is, we attended to this once because there were complaints. or they raised queries, these providers. Is there a chance that there could be other providers for whom prices were more than what they charged, meaning that City offered them more than what they had bargained for, and have kept quiet because that would be in their favor as they build a city, and we have not noticed that. So the underlying question then goes back to what QA mechanisms do we have in these spaces to prevent such from happening? So then my question, as I said, is twofold, but the theme of these two questions is around QA. But please answer those two questions specifically. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, after realizing such the mistake that that took place, just to put the committee at the comfort, I, as a chairperson, that I did not do it with the whole company. The person from acquisition who actually captured the information, I sat down with the person and go through to verify where all the winning bidders. We went through all the price to check if there is anybody who was disadvantaged, who was disadvantaged, or who has actually been given more price per rate. We realized that there wasn't. Only these three on our review were the ones that indeed the capturing of the prices was had a wide error margins. Thank you.
Chair, thanks for the explanation, and I would recommend, just as a side issue, for maybe SCM to really look into a possibility of some QA mechanism on a sampling basis. I know there's a lot of tenders that we are dealing with, but it's just a consideration SCM may need to look into. Thank you.
Noted, Chair. Secretariat, please note that input. I think the concern really, members and BEC Chair, it's really around QA. And obviously, it triggers a bit of panic for BSc members to say, to what extent can we rely on the reports that we receive from BECs, especially if errors like this ones comes. And I think that's why the recommendation to get some kind of QA going, especially on pricing. I know that some BECs would go to the extent of verifying figures item by item. I think the same should be applied in the same BEC as well, to avoid this kind of repeats. But I think just to maybe also just assure BEC members, I've just done a quick exercise and I've put the report on the screen again. I hope you can see my screen there. BEC Chair, the bidders affected is Ndoko, Gaps, and Dateline, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so this was the 9010 that brought these service providers about. If you looked at I think in Ndoko mainly, it was a reduction of the prices, mainly because they had 5,500 several. So those 5,500 would have reduced their rates further down, making them even more cheaper. Gaps had a price of about 270,000 added to their figure instead of 270. So it would have dropped their figure even further. So the chances of this turning around would indeed be very minimal. And in this case, it was just an addition of about 4,500 So the impact would not really have a significant change on the 90/10. So, but yeah, I think the main recommendation is that SCM across should ensure that some kind of QA is implemented on a sample basis to assure prices through the BECs. I think that will be an additional recommendation going with this report. Chair, members, are we otherwise happy to recommend the corrections? Or Member Nkoko, you still up?
I'm happy from my side. Thank you.
Happiness, Chair, from my side, as per the explanation. Happiness, very happiness, Chair.
Thank you, Member Mtso.
Yes, you've explained it thoroughly, Deputy Chair. Happy.
Thank you very much. As recommended, with those comments, Secretariat, please note. Next item. Sorry. I noticed that Secretariat, you had not marked the CME items as agent. Can we go straight to item 3 and deal with those two items?
Okay, Chairperson. Item 3 from Communication, Marketing and Events Department reads, request to obtain approval to deviate from the normal procurement processes to buy media directly from different newspapers or statutory and other advertisements. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Department. Who's presenting on behalf of CME? Elsie, is it you? Well.
There we go. Good morning, Chair.
Yes, ma'am. Your declaration and your delegation letter, please. If you have one.
They've been sent through to Portia already.
Okay. Please quiet. Portia, do you have the delegation letter, right?
Yes, Chairperson.
Thank you. Please quiet.
Okay, Chair, it's going to be myself and Sarat Kamfer who will be presenting the reports. And the first report that I would like us to start with, it is the soccer one, if it's acceptable to the meeting. Then we'll do the media buying report after I'm done with this one, if it's okay with the meeting.
Well, our sequencing is the other way around. Portia, let's introduce 3.2 first.
Chairperson, item 3.2, request to obtain approval to deviate from the normal procurement processes to procure services for the 2023, the State of the City Address, soccer, and the budget speech. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Okay, over to you, colleagues.
Thank you, Chairperson. I want to declare that I don't have any interest in the report that is going to be presented to the committee, which is the request for approval to deviate from the normal procurement processes to procure services for the 2023 State of the City Address, as well as the budget speech. And the basis of our report really is on the State of the City Address that is going to be delivered by the Executive Mayor on the 18th of May, which is next week, and services that are required. And the report that is scheduled before the committee actually has a full campaign that we wanted to embark on in order to promote the State of the City Address. If you look at an item 4, which is part of the discussion, we know that this is a deviation given the whole issue of the procurement policy and us not being able to appoint through our normal procurement process, which ordinarily would have been a panel. Without wasting too much time, I'm going to go into item 4.1, which speaks about the campaign elements that we had wanted to do. Chairperson, and I would like to inform the committee that with After having had conversation with the State of the City Address Committee, a number of items have been cancelled out of this report. We are not allowed to buy any media for this. As such, we have only a few items that we want to table to the committee and seek approval thereof. The first item that I want us to pay attention to, so the 4.1.1 is completely cancelled. We're not going to be doing that. When we move to item 4.1.2, we are cancelling everything except for the teleprompter or the auto cue. So the last bullet is actually cancelled. Sorry, the last bullet is the only one that is not cancelled of the 4 items that is there. And we move to item 4.1.3, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bullets. Of the 6 bullets, we are only going with the third bullet, which is the 100-meter electrical extension cord, and the 4th bullet, which is the platform to accommodate 6 people. Everything else, like I said, falls off. So in summary, the 3 items that are tabled before this report, it is the teleprompter or the auto cue, the 100-meter electrical extension cord, as well as the platform to accommodate 6 people. Everything else falls off, including all the items that are under 4.2, which is the budget speech. Our recommendation for this report, Chair, is to seek approval for this committee to actually allow us to go ahead and appoint a service provider who will be assisting us with all these items that we seek to procure. We had written a letter to the CM's office seeking his approval for us to come to BAC. There is correspondence from his office that came through to say we don't need a letter of approval, and that correspondence is part of the annexures that accompanies this report. Chair, the report is tabled. Thank you.
Members, comments? Member Gogo?
Chair, maybe I missed let me just scroll back on my report quickly. Just give me a sec. The section below where she was excluding certain items. I'm not sure. Let me see. Yeah, the budget speech. Did you say you including everything in there? And the presenter, please confirm.
We are cancelling everything on the budget speech.
So you basically are requesting from this committee the 100-meter electrical cord, teleprompter, and what else? There were 3 things.
The platform.
And the platform.
What is commonly called the stage, yes.
Okay, and yeah, sorry, Chair, I'm not making the dialogue. I just want to make sure that I'm following. Okay, this is just the budget. Okay, no, that's fine, Chair. But I suppose it might be useful to have the recommendation clear, because the recommendation as it stands now talks to being granted permission to procure services for 2023 soccer and budget speech through a deviation process, and it doesn't specify those items that were in the report. You know, if I were to recommend, I would say the report needs to be amended to talk strictly to what is being required, so that there's no confusion in terms of the approval, Chair. But that is just my view. Thank you.
If I may be allowed, Chair, and thanks to the member.
Just one sec, Member Mateo, you want to come up, and then she can respond once.
Thank you, Chair. And that Nkoko has covered me. I think it would be proper for the presenter to give us a clean report, taking out those items that he's no longer referring to, or that they are no longer going to need from this particular deviation, so that it may be easier for us to have that on record, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, thank you for that. Member Shingage, comments?
Thanks, Chair. Thanks for the presentation, Carly. Thank you very much. So I thought, the report is quite clear in terms of what is going to be or what is suggested to be procured. But I thought maybe it could have been better if the report was updated just to remove what is not necessary there. So that we consider because it's just to delete. We consider the actual services and goods that are required by the department, given the presentation that was made by Kali, and because it's quite clear, what is not going to be procured and what is going to be procured. Is it possible to get that report updated and come back and just give us because it will address what Member Kwena was raising earlier on, whether the budget speech is in or out, So if we had just a report that would clear up those things, the report is quite clear in terms of the process going forward. That's the first point. The second part, if you go through the panel, does it become a deviation report, Chair, or you appoint through the panel? Just to remind me there, I'm not sure whether when we appoint through the panel, we normally say deviation or we just go straight to the panel, because the panel is there, Chair. If you can also assist in that respect, Chair, with that question for now, Chair. Thank you very much.
I think just to clarify, remember we have a panel, yes, but that panel does not have any pricing in it. And as a result, the 2022 PPPFA regulations, their purpose was to change how we evaluate the 20 points of the 820 in relation to the objective criteria. So without that approved, it then leaves the city without any criteria in line with current legislation to evaluate the 20 points. Hence, we have stopped all procurement until the policy is approved. So that's why they are saying they want to deviate in terms of 3615 in practicality, because the policy has not been approved. So that is the context of the presentation. So it will be a deviation in relation to PIN practicality. And you would have seen the SCM comments similar to exactly the same report we handled last week on Friday. The only other challenge I see with a deviation, remember, you would ideally want to approve a figure to say we deviate in favor of this service provider for this amount. I know last week we had a discussion on a similar issue. We requested the department to go and source quotations. At least 3, it was recommended, though I know there was a debate about whether we needed to do that or not, but that was a process we followed. And I think if we are probably to be consistent, we just need to think around that, so that when we refer them back, if we are referring them back, they then bring the report back comprehensively to resolve everything else. Elsie, I don't know if you want to comment or on some of the issues raised by members while members are applying their minds.
Yeah, I think it's quite clear what the members are saying, and thanks for those comments. We just didn't want to bring an amended report willy-nilly, because we had submitted this report a while back, and given the reasons over the previous weeks, we couldn't table it. However, we'll go back, change the report, and bring it back to the meeting. And what I'm not really sure about is the comment you just made now with regards to making sure that the report must be accompanied by quotations. Given that we are here now, what then becomes the way forward for us as a department? Because I was ready to bring this report back to the meeting today still, because time is really a factor in our case. SOCA is next week, Thursday. So we don't have the luxury of time, obviously. So I would want to come back to the committee today with a clear viewpoint of how the department must continue. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. No additions from the department. Your hand was up. Did you change your mind?
No, she covered me, Chair, because I think this is quite urgent if they can be able to do those cosmetic amendments in the report and address your comments, Chair, so that it can be considered. I think it's one of those critical reports that we need to bring finality to for the procurement exercise to be undertaken, Chair. Thank you very much.
I can just do that quickly, man. It's mine through you, Chair.
Yeah, so we following the same principle as last week, I would imagine.
Yes, Chair. Yes, definitely. Yes,
just
definitely.
to remind members, last week we had said in terms of that deviation, we needed at least a notice to a couple of service providers. We had said 3, I think, and then we must then get those codes back at least in an hour or so, and then of course the report must then factor those quotations in and a recommendation in terms of those quotations. The only challenge we have is that we don't have 2 hours because we are going to break by 1, meaning we can only consider this report first thing in the morning when we start. And I know they are already pleading time. Members?
Yeah, I mean, I'll agree with your suggestion. The department must really lead us here. I mean, if we were to, because 2 hours from now, oh yeah, you're right, 2 hours from now, I mean, it's, yeah. So the department must lead us. If they are able to still have this thing served tomorrow and approved, will it give them sufficient time to start with the, exercise of procurement? Thanks.
Yeah, I think the one thing clear is we have no choice. We need codes. Last week we had said at least the department must bring 3 quotations. So I would want us to be consistent so that we don't, we are not going to be playing all over. And though I do remember that there was also a different view as to whether we needed those 3 different codes, but BAC was concerned about price fairness. I think that's the one element you wanted to see. So I would imagine we are upholding that principle still even today. So I think Elsie, if you could contact SCM, specifically Franz Boy, and he could assist you agently with a notice to bidders to get quotations, those that are on the panel. And at least if we have got 3 responses is best, because then BAC is able to compare the prices, and then we then factor those quotations into the report in terms of the recommendation to say we deviating for this purpose in favor of this bidder for this amount, and then BAC can then apply its mind, advise the CM accordingly in relation to that. The only other issue I must raise, members, is that in relation to the SCM comments in the report, you would have noticed that the issue of poor planning comes back. It says the department is requesting to deviate from normal procurement process in terms of Regulation 36A5 to procure services to host and promote 2023 soccer and budget speech. Of course, as revised now, the request does not meet the requirements of the MFMA, Municipal Supply Chain Regulations, due to lack of planning to ensure that supply chain management policies updated, approved and implemented with the 2022 SCM-related regulations with effect from 16 January 2023. So due to that element, we go in the, of course, the regular expenditure route to be consistent with last week's resolution. Just to make members aware of that, but of course we'll finalize that matter when the quotations are back, when the report is back with the quotations. I just needed to highlight that for members to remember. No further comments, right?
Chair, it's Elsie again.
Yes,
I think
Elsie.
we'll engage, I know we'll engage friends now, and depending on how things go, we may actually come back to the meeting today. If not, obviously it will be scheduled for tomorrow morning. But our low-hanging fruit is that it happens today. So that's what we'll be working on between now and when the BAC ceases to sit. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's fine. I think work on that. We'll discuss with the members maybe in the afternoon when the other meeting is over. If it ends early, we could have a quick 30 minutes for you. We'll discuss that with the members and advise.
Yeah.
So the report is referred back for the department to address the issue of quotations and then update the revisions that have been proposed. And then it will then be reconsidered when it comes back. Elsie, would the same comments apply to the next report? I don't know now what is time.
No, absolutely not, Chair.
Okay,
The next
that's fine.
report doesn't have the
Okay.
same draft.
No, that's fine. Then, Poshia, please let's introduce the 3.1.
Item 3.1, Chairperson, it's a request to obtain approval to deviate from the normal procurement process to buy media directly from different newspapers for statutory and other advertisement. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Colleagues, you go ahead.
Thank you, Chairperson. This is Saret Comfort, and I will be presenting the report, and I hereby declare that I have no financial or any other interest in the matter under discussion. Chairperson, if you allow me, I would just like to give a little bit of context to this request before the report is presented. It has been the norm before 2017 to procure newspaper adverts through the normal procurement process from registered service providers. However, this process did not serve the municipality well, mainly for two reasons. And then the first one, that it was not practical. And although we do our planning according to the municipal calendar, there were always last-minute requests for urgent placements like special council meetings, and then we are unable to deliver. And that compromised the municipality not complying to legislation. And then the second reason also for us that was not convenient, it cost the municipality between 16 to 30% more by buying adverts through a service provider. The advertising industry is regulated and 16% agency fees are applicable. However, some of the service providers are not registered agents, so they will source from advertising agencies, and as a result, we get double dipping. So in June 2017, we tabled our first report to deviate from the normal procurement processes to buy newspaper adverts directly. And we argued that newspapers are sole providers in a sense that the owner or the solely appointed agents own the right to sell advertising space in the respective newspapers. Moreover, we make use of newspapers that are best suited for the target audience of a specific project or program. In a sense, newspapers are referred to as single providers. For instance, there's only one community newspaper that give us a good reach in the city, namely the Record newspaper. So that report was approved in 2017, and since then we've tabled 2 reports after the 3-year has lapsed. That was also approved, and the last report that we brought to BAC was on the 28th of July 2022, and it was also recommended for approval by the BAC, but when it went to the City Manager's Office for approval, it was approved with an amendment, and the amendment was that it only gets approved for 12 months to give us enough time to follow a tender process. Now, Chairperson, that was the reason why we wanted to deviate in the first place, to avoid going through the middleman and save the municipality money. So we recently wrote to the new CM to explain our request, and the amendment that was will result in the very thing that we tried to avoid in the first place. And the CM recommended that we take the report, bring the report back to BAC. So here we are again. I'm tabling the report, and just to say that the benefit for us buying newspapers directly from the newspapers, we are saving money by cutting out agency fees. And as I said, sometimes it's up to 30% because we are working with two agents or service providers at a time. Improve response time in cases of emergencies and unforeseen events. Also, we've recently, in 2020, we have introduced a central media buying process within the city. So CME is now buying in bulk. We are buying for the entire municipality. So we have fostered good relationships with the media houses, and therefore we are getting discounts for dealing directly with them. We are negotiating better rates and added value for buying in bulk. And then the other also benefit that I can state is the fact that we have started the central media buying approach. We can manage the invoicing and the payment of the invoices much better. In the past, it happened that a certain department will buy a newspaper advert, they won't pay the invoice, and then the entire municipality's account gets blocked, and the rest of the city can't buy newspaper adverts. So, Chairperson, I'm tabling the report for your consideration. Thank you.
Members, your comments? Sorry, can I just check? Do we have SCM comments for this report? Sarat, did I miss the SCM comments for this report, or we don't have them?
No, according to me, all the comments were received. I wonder if the incorrect report was submitted. I'm just looking at the report I have in front of me. Chairperson, I am certain that we did receive comments from CME. If I remember correctly, it was not favorable comments like in all the previous reports. The 2 previous reports, the CME comments were also not favorable.
Can you share them with the Secretariat quickly? And we can put them in the folder. Member Shingani, back to you.
Thanks, Chair. Just, okay, you've covered the first observation with respect to the SCM comments. And the second one is that legal is not in support. And I remember Mink is here of this deviation. Maybe the Senate must also make an observation in that respect that is not effectively supported by legal. I mean, given all the explanation that she has advanced moving forward. And then thirdly, I see there's group human capital comments on the report. I suspect it was just an error because this is an SCM report. I mean, perhaps you were supposed to have included the SCM comments. Instead, they actually put the human capital comments in that respect. So maybe they just need to address that. So the other point that Sarat makes is that in the past, I mean, they used to go through a middleman, and obviously it will have cost implication moving forward. I just want to understand if in other metros, how do they normally deal with this, media buying? Do they go directly to the media houses? And if so, I mean, what processes are they utilizing? Do they also use, just for educational purposes, do they also use deviation reports for that period of time, wherein they'll be buying different, medias from these different, media houses? If you can just maybe share with us in terms of what is happening elsewhere in this area of work in terms of media buying. Thanks, Chair.
Member Nkoko, any comments?
Thank you, Chairperson.
Okay, you can go ahead, Sarat.
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to get to the human capital comments, it is relevant for human capital to have made comments, because what we have done, we have asked departments to add their budget, usually when they buy adverts like advertising positions or tenders or whatever. We've asked them to include their budget, because this report, even though we are generating the report, we are buying on behalf of the entire municipality. So the comment that was made by human capital is relevant because it stated the budget that have been allocated for adverts, for the placing of adverts. And then the second one, in terms of how other municipalities are doing it, there are two ways of doing it. The first way is putting a tender in place. But if you are putting a tender in place, you are still not avoiding the middleman, because you work with service providers and you are back then to paying much more for adverts. And we have, in the past, it was not done recently, but the first time when we tabled the report, we did consult with with other municipalities, and that was exactly the route that was taken to buy media directly.
Member, any comments? Or Member Mansell? Just to make us understand the legal comments maybe in context.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. From what I gather from the comments from the department, in particular legal services, they've also there are several reasons that were alluded to. Hence, the report is not supporting this particular deviation. But some of the things that Mr. G has requested clarification from the presenter. Hopefully, if they were included in the report and a discussion further with the drafter of the legal opinion or the legal comments, hopefully they would have changed. However, I'm also interested in what CM would say in relation to this deviation. We all know that in MECO, we were lambasted highly so in relation to deviations and not following proper process of SCM. And Chair, I'll rest here, and we can take this matter further with the department, especially having the report being beefed up with what the presenter has indicated now. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Member Ngoko, further comments, if you have?
No, Chair, I mean, listening to the report and reading the report, I thought this somehow addresses part of what MECO has. Yes, there is a sentiment about having to move from deviations, but at the same time, there is a sentiment on the extreme side that talks to removal of middlemen and women. I wonder, why is it always middlemen?
There's a woman in this regard in Tatenkoko.
Removing both the middlemen and women. And from where I'm sitting, I mean, attempts to get value for money at reasonable prices for any form of service for the city. It should be what drives the how we do procurement, broadly speaking. But at the same time, not disadvantaging the upcoming businesses, meaning that we should have, if we don't have at this point in time, and I stand to be corrected, the development arm that focus on that, so that as we deal with your OEMs and your core already existing businesses, we do not disadvantage the small ones that are upcoming. But at the same time, the small ones that are upcoming cannot hold us ransom by going to buy something for 10 rands and sell it for 100 rands. That we should not allow. So, Chair, that's my view on this report, and technically I would support it, unless there is a particular piece of legislation or regulation that it doesn't comply with. Thank you.
Yeah. Look, I think legislation is tricky, especially the Section 36. I mean, one may argue that these media houses or newspapers are sole providers, and I know it will be difficult to convince anyone in relation to that, because amongst themselves they can compete, because you don't always use them at a go. And I think if you look at the legal comments, they are making a case there as well that probably needs to be looked at. It would have been interesting to look at the SCM comments. I don't know if Poshe, you have got them already and noted them, just to hear how they've looked at this issue. But you see, the issue around price concerns, Member Nkoko, the reason there is regulation 24 in the SCM regulations for price negotiations is to address those elements. So we really need to take a comprehensive look at the motivation and the regulation, so that whatever decision we come to at the end of the day, it's a balanced review of legislation. Because if they are middlemen and they are overpriced and all that, you can negotiate and squeeze them to certain minimum levels to try and avoid exorbitant elements. So maybe let's give Saret a further comment. Saret, I'm hoping you're going to share with us the SCM comments, just so that we pick up from them the issues they are raising as well. And then we can then make an informed decision in relation to how we move forward on the report. Over to you, Saret.
Thank you, Chairperson. The mystery has been clarified. What we have done in the report is we've been advised to combine the financial comments and the SCM comments under financial comments. So it's actually two comments from the two different divisions under the chief financial officer. So if I can go back to the report, it starts with SCM and on page 4, and then on page 5 still SCM, and then it goes. Let me just quickly check. On page 6, yeah, sort of like to the half of page 6, all goes under supply chain management comments. And then when it gets to the budgets, explaining the budgets, that's where the financial comments off the page, where the different amounts are mentioned. That is where the financial comments are. So the supply chain management comments, it's about 2 pages long.
Okay, thank you very much. So basically the comment that we have on page 6, where it says Group Financial Services does not support the report due to the fact that it does not meet the requirements of the regulations. The department is encouraged to follow a competitive bidding process to fully comply with Section 217, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Republic, and Section 112 of the MFMA and the SCM regulations. So that would have been a summation of the SCM comments in the main. I suspected, I didn't want to assume. So, and I think it's exactly what I was saying, members, because the big concern here basically seems to be price that we pay when we use middlemen and all that. And the big question AG would ask would be, why don't you encourage the newspapers to bid themselves and offer their prices? Because if they bid and offer their prices directly, they are likely to beat the middlemen because they've offered their own prices directly. So that is the one critical question that I have always been confronted with. So the balance between the competitive bidding process and the deviation in this case, as for the reasons we have argued, I think we are always going to fall short. I don't know. I'm thinking we should probably refer the report back, and the department can try and respond to the issues that have been raised in the comments, and maybe if they respond specifically to some of the issues in the legal and SCM comments. And let's see how it takes us, how it and where it takes us specifically. I don't know. It's just my thought, members. Sarat, you want to comment?
Thank you, Chairperson. Just to remind you that the newspapers appoint agencies to sell advertising on their behalf, and it's standard in the advertising industry that they get paid an agency fee. So yeah, if we're doing business directly and buying bulk with the newspapers, that agency fee is not applicable.
Yeah, no, I'm alive to the need to save money. I mean, the city is bleeding. We have no money. I'm alive to the need to save money at the end of the day. But I think our biggest challenge is how do we get around the regulations. I would even propose, members, that maybe let's refer the report back let's have a joint discussion between the department, SCM, and group legal, maybe around one table. Try and figure out a way around these challenges. Because as it is now, it's an irregular expenditure. You can approve it, but you're facing irregular expenditure with these two comments. So all your expenditure for the next 3 years, it would be irregular expenditure, but maybe if a team set and shared ideas, a loophole could be found, including lessons of how others are doing it, as Member Shingange had raised. And you could even maybe upfront consult AG, seek an opinion and see how it moves before BAC finalizes. I think we really need to do that kind of an exercise to avoid an upfront irregular expenditure. With these two comments, we were facing that. That's it. Members?
Great, Chair.
Vote on, Chair.
Okay. So we're referring it back and encouraging a joint discussion between Group Legal, the department, and SCM to figure out the challenges around the regulations. Member Notwani? Sorry, Group Head Notwani?
It's a different matter, Chair, not this matter.
Okay. No, that's fine. Let me just read this one. Members, we're referring it back on that basis as recommended or as amended, rather.
As amended.
It's amended, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see the two groups are raising their hands. They are looking at our time. They are panicking. Group Head Notwani?
Thank you very much, Chair. Indeed, you are correct. I'm panicking very badly. We've got one, and I noted your timelines. We've got a report for Klebgat, Chair, extension of time, and the project lapses on Sunday, the 15th, and 12th, 13th, on Monday. So we pleading for your assistance, for BAC's assistance, Chair, if the report can be considered, please.
Okay, noted. And then Group Head Litongwane?
Chair, I think it's in the same line. Looking at your time, I got two agent reports that requires your attention. One is the 6.6 and also 6.2. But I also wanted to highlight that, Chair, you had in the agenda, I don't know whether it was corrected, there are a number of projects that were dealt with during the last meeting that I still see them on the agenda. So, but for me, for now, those two are very critical.
Thank you. We had noted that with Secretariat, and we were obviously going to, as we move along, correct those. Group Head Notwani, which item is yours specifically in the package?
Chair, I didn't check the agenda. I might want to ask Portia to please.
Portia, maybe you can assist us.
Chairperson, it's item 7.3.
7.3. Okay. Members, can we prioritize those three in the next 30 minutes, 40 minutes, see if we can get through them? And then the rest will obviously have to flow over to tomorrow. Especially yes, because these are extension of time.
Yes, Chair, but I don't know, Chair. I mean, how is our availability after the meeting with the on the audit tracking with the EM? Can we reconvene around 5-6 just to get these things done? So if we are all available, I don't know. But I think we've got a lot of reports that are before us, and this agenda is growing exponentially daily, Chair. So why can't we just perhaps make time? I mean, we can connect from the comfort of our own spaces, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, just to give ourselves 2 hours and just to tackle some of the reports today, later, Chair. I'm sponsoring that suggestion depending on the availability of the collective, obviously, Chair. But I see a lot of pressure from our side in terms of the reports, Chair. Thank you very much.
While Member Nkoko and Motsewa are applying their minds to that suggestion, we'll wrap it up when we wrap up as to what we do. Let's go to 6.2, Portia, and then deal with that. Portia, please introduce 6.2.
Chairperson, item 6.2 is RTD 07-22-23, tender for the construction of Deneboom interim facility, 6 months period. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Okay. Rupert, is it a BEC report or yours?
It's BEC.
It's a BEC report.
Oh, yes, Member Rahaba, also BEC Chairperson Ramogopa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chairperson and committee members. My name is Rahaba Ramogopa, and I declare that I don't have any personal interest in the item that I'll be presenting now. I'm still struggling to open, but it's going to open now. Sorry, members, it's taking time to open, but I'm almost there.
I'm also battling to open the report, Chair. It's quite slow.
Yeah, it's very slow.
We are not alone, Sister Rahabi.
I've opened it. It's RTD 07, eh?
Yes.
I opened it. Should I put it on the screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. There you go. There you go.
That's it.
Rahaba, it's on the screen.
Yes, I can see. Thank you, committee members. As I've already did my introduction, the item that I'm presenting now is RTD 07 of 2022-2023. Is the first time that I'm presenting this item before this committee, which is the Bid Adjudication Committee. As you can see on page 2, it shows that the specification was approved on the 4th of December 2022, and the bid was advertised on the 12th of Jan 2023, and it closed on the 27th of Jan 2023. And there was a briefing session that was done, which was compulsory on the 20th of Jan 2023. And the official from the department is Manare, and from our side it was Makafula. And those are the bid evaluation committee members as appointed by the accounting officer. Upon closing, we received 11 response from the public. This bid is still valid and is going to expire on the 27th of May 2023. Members, on part T1 of page 9 of the document, it shows that this item we have evaluated it into 4 stages. The first stage, it was administrative compliance. Second, it was local content. The third one, it was mandatory. The fourth, it was a functionality, and the last one, it was a preference point. Members, as I've indicated, I said we received 11 bidders from the public. As you can see on the report, out of those 11, then as I indicated, I said there was a compulsory briefing session, and bidder number 11, it was disqualified for non-attendance of the compulsory briefing session. Then, as a result, we left only with 10 bidders, and all these 10 bidders, they qualified to go to the to pre-compliance. Members, remember on the pre-compliance, we are checking as to whether the bidder is registered on the CSD or is there any restricted or employee of state? And upon us and even the supply chain doing that exercise, we found that out of those 10 bidders, none of them was disqualified on compliance, meaning that this bidder qualified to go to the first stage, which is the administrative compliance. Members on the administrative compliance, usually we are checking MPD 1, MPD 4, MPD 8, and MPD 9. Upon us doing that exercise, we found that 5 bidders out of 10, they were disqualified on administrative compliance, meaning that these 5 bidders, they don't qualify to go, they will be disqualified for further evaluation. And then we're left with only with 10 bidders. That with 5 bidders, I'm sorry, to go to the second stage, which is the locality. On the locality part, then we checked the locality and we found that 1 bidder was disqualified on local content, and that bidder was bidder number 5. And this bidder was disqualified for further evaluation, and we are left only with the 4 bidders that qualified to go to the third stage, which was the mandatory requirement. We did the mandatory requirement, and after doing the mandatory requirement, we found that 1 bidder didn't comply with all the mandatory requirement, which is the bidder number 3. Then as a result, this bidder will be disqualified for further evaluation. Then we're left with bidder number 6, bidder number 7, and bidder number 9. Then we did the fourth stage, which is the functionality, and we're looking for a minimum score of 75. Upon us doing that exercise as the BEC committee members, we scored all the 3 bidders that qualified to the stage of functionality. Then there was 1 bidder that scored below the minimum points of 75, which is bidder number 9. Then as a result, this bidder will be disqualified for further evaluation. Then we're left only with the 2 bidders, which is bidder number 6 and bidder number 7. To go to the last stage. The last stage, it was the price and the BEE, which is the preference point. But upon supply chain doing that exercise, they found that the bidder number 6, remember this bid, we're evaluating it as a whole, meaning that we are appointing 1 service provider. Bidder number 6, upon us checking on the pricing schedule, we found that the pricing schedule was incomplete. Then as a result, this bidder was disqualified based on the incomplete pricing schedule. Remember, we couldn't compare April with April together with the other bidder, which is bidder number 7. Then we're left only with bidder number 7, and as you can see, is the one that we've recommended for this bid. And those are the price. We populated the price of this bidder number 7 on the recommendation as according to the tender documents. Members, the report is tabled before you for further deliberation. Thank you.
Members, I wonder if you managed to open your reports. I've tried my best to flow with the chair. BC Chairperson, the issue of pricing schedule.
Yes.
Not fully completed.
Yes.
Was your pricing schedule requiring bidders to complete in full?
Remember, the tender documents were saying that we are appointing 1 service provider, meaning that it was saying that we are appointing it as a whole. Remember, if we are appointing it as a whole, it's not itemized. We are not appointing per item, per item. Then it means that the bidder must price the document as a whole.
Members, other comments, questions?
Still going through the report, sir.
Okay. It's just coming as you Members? Any further comments?
Can't pick up anything I missed as I'm going through the report.
Yeah, I think my only issue, I do understand the BEC's explanation. I also know that AG has insisted on us being specific about disqualifying criteria, especially where pricing is concerned. They would want the spec to strictly say that it should be completed in full, and that we have a finding like that. But what the BC chair says makes sense, because then if you don't do that, you are likely to appoint someone who is not going to meet the full spec of the bid, because he might not have priced. To what extent were the omissions, BC chair, in relation to the BOQ for the other bid that you are disqualified? Maybe that should be the question.
I think the bidder didn't price most of the item on the BOQ. Then, as a result, that's the reason that we qualify. We disqualify the bidder, because it was going to be a problem if we consider this a bidder. Remember, we are not even, when coming to comparing the prices, we are not comparing Apple with Apple, because he might be cheaper, but you find that he didn't price on other items. And when the department want to use that certain item that he didn't price, that is going to be a problem for that department to use to procure that item.
Yeah, with you. Mabango.
Yeah, just to check, in terms of the spec, the intention has always been to appoint in full. Am I right?
Yes,
in
correct.
Which case, if it is the case, then the question around pricing becomes moot, especially for the one that did not given prices for all items. How do we appoint you in full if you have not even priced in full? I mean, it goes without saying from where I'm sitting. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for that comment. I'm glad you look at it that way. Member Mateo Shingange, you were happy the recommended bidder is tax compliant. Are we happy to recommend?
Covered by member no, I'm happy, Chair.
As recommended, members?
Agreed.
As recommended, Chair.
Thank you. Member Mateo, you are in agreement?
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Thank you, Secretariat. Next item.
Chairperson, item 6.3 reads RTD 16/2022-23 tender for the maintenance and repair of MAN A84 Tshwane bus services, TBS bus fleet, as and when required. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to open the item. I'm struggling. Who's presenting?
It's me, Chairperson, again.
Oh, okay. It's your day today.
I am trying.
Go ahead.
Thank you once again, committee members and chairperson. And the item that I'm presenting now is RTG 16 of 2022-2023. The Secretariat already mentioned the description, I won't repeat. And the duration of this contract is for 3 years, and I'm presenting it for the first time before this committee, which is the Bid Adjudication Committee. If you can go to page 2, it shows that the specification was approved on the 2nd of November 2022, and the bid was advertised on the 12th of January 2023. And there was no briefing session for this tender, and the bid closed on the 28th of the 2nd of 2023. And the official from the department is Stoffel, and from our side is Magda Tifos. And those are the names of the bid evaluation committee members as appointed by the accounting officer. Upon closing, we have received 6 responses from the public, and the bid is still valid, and it will expire on the 28th of this month, which is 2023. Members, I just want the members to go to page 9 to see how did we evaluate this tender. On page 9 of the report, it shows on point number 5, it says that this is a rated only items, and the tender will be awarded as a whole to one bidder. And it says 4 stages. We have evaluated this tender into 4 stages. The first stage is the administrative compliance. The second, it was the local content, of which on the local content is mentioned on the point 7, saying that we're looking for 70% valves. And on the steel, bolt nuts, rivets, and nails, we're looking at the 100% local content. And there was the third stage, which is the mandatory requirement, and the last stage, it was the preference point. I'd like the members just to go to page, let me check which page is that. The members to go to page 25 of the report. Members have indicated that we received 6 responses from the public, and on the bottom of page 6, it shows that the names of the bidders that responded to this bid from bidder number 1 until bidder number 6. And thereafter, then we did the pre-compliance. Remember, on the pre-compliance, we're checking as to whether the bidder is registered on the CST or is there's no restricted or employee of state. And failure for a bidder not to register on CST, it's an automatic disqualification, and it's the same as if ever there's a restricted supplier or employee of state, then it's an automatic disqualification. Then upon supply chain doing that exercise, and even the committee member confirming on that, we found that none of the bidders they were disqualified on pre-compliance, meaning that the 6 of them, they qualified to the first stage, which is the administrative compliance. On the administrative compliance, we're looking at MBD1, MBD4, MBD8, and MBD9. Upon us doing that exercise on administrative compliance, 4 bidders, they were disqualified because they didn't comply with all the administrative compliance. Some of them, they didn't declare that they are involved in other companies, which is bidder number 1, bidder number 2, bidder number 4, and bidder number 5. Then as a result, this bidder will be disqualified for further evaluation. Then we're left only with 2 bidders because 4 of them, they're out on admin. Then the 2 bidders that qualified to go to local content, and those bidders was bidder number 3 and bidder number 6. And all of them, they did qualify on the local content part. Then as a result, the 2 of them, which is bidder number 3 and 6, they qualified to go to the third stage, which is the mandatory requirement. Upon us doing this exercise on the mandatory requirement, there was the one bidder, he didn't sign the warranty condition letter, and as a result, this bidder is bidder number 3 because he didn't comply with all the mandatory requirement. This bidder was disqualified on mandatory requirement, and thereafter we left only with 1 bidder that's qualified on the mandatory requirement. And remember, we're saying that we evaluating the next stage on this tender. It was it was the last stage, which was the preference point. Then on the after the mandatory, it didn't have the functionality. Then we did the preference point, but we were left only with 1 bidder, which is bidder number 6. And as a result, as we can see on bidder number 6 on page 33, those are the prices offered by bidder number 6. And as we can see, those are the details of the director of this company. And this bidder is the one that we are recommending to the this committee, which is the Bid Adjudication Committee. As you can see on page 35, we've populated the prices as according to their tender documents submitted, and we are recommending bidder number 6 to be to this bid. And members, the report is tabled before you for further deliberation. Thank you.
Members' comments?
Cannot pick up anything for now. I'm still going through it.
BEC Chair, this is a rate-based tender, right? As and when?
Yes,
So,
I think we should. Okay, the subtotals.
yeah, the subtotals must disappear,
Mm-hmm.
and the quantities in the recommendation must go. I know that you basically left with one bidder. Did you in any way just look at the pricing to see if it's sensible or not? Maybe.
No, the only thing that we did is that we invited the department just to come to check as to whether is there any value for money for the. Remember, the reason why we invited the department is because that we are left only with one service provider. But remember, we cannot just appoint somebody based on the reason that is the only one that is left. Then we asked the department as to whether to look at the prices and check as to whether is there any value for money on this recommended service provider. Then they gave us a positive answer. Then that's the reason that we have recommended this bid.
Okay. Other comments, members? If any? Members, are we happy to proceed? I'm trying to check the CSD for tax compliance. Don't seem to have it in the folder.
So educate me quickly, Chair. In the body of the report, it says this is a whole tender, but now you just said it's rate based. Ne? Is there a difference there? Just you know, this terminology sometimes it will make one think.
In the body, it says what?
The whole something. I just want to go there. This tender must be
appointed as a whole.
Yes, awarded as a whole.
BEC Chair, you can clarify, I'm sure.
Yeah, when it says as a whole, it means that we are looking for only one service provider just to provide the service for the city. And if it's a race-based tender, I'm not sure whether the department is around on the other side. Maybe they can just assist me with answering that one.
I just want to get to the page. It says that the computer is big stadig.
Thank you, BEC Chair, for the clarity. While Member Shingange is checking.
Can in the meantime, through you, Chair, assist because BEC Chair has essentially referred this to them. BEC Chair didn't answer, Chair. She just relegated this question to the department.
About a rate-based tender.
Great.
I mean, it being a rate simply means we are appointing, because it's an as and when tender member, we appoint bidders based on the rates that they've put forward. So we'll appoint you per item, per rate. That's why I was saying on the recommendation, they must remove the estimated quantities and the subtotals.
Yeah,
so for example, yeah. So where are you missing it? Remember, maybe I'm not understanding your question.
I just want to get to that page that I read. It will give me more arsenal to explain the clarity that I seek, because I understand that part of the rates. Yeah, but there was something that I saw in the report. It says that the system is slow.
Not only I'm aware you're worried about your time.
No, Chair. I wanted to comment on this item.
Okay, sure.
No, I felt, let me give an input, Chair. So you can have a tender, one tender that has been structured such that there are various items on the tender. So as you would know, then the tender will be awarded per item. But in this case, I think that is the point Rahaba was making, to say it must be awarded as a whole. I think that was the to just clarify how the tender should be awarded. Thank you.
Covered, Chair. Thanks, Chair.
Yes, agreed. Thank you very much, Grupet. Members, can we recommend?
As recommended, Chair.
Yes, Chair.
And it's subject to confirmation of tax compliance.
Yes, yes.
Because we don't have it in here. I've asked them to sort it out. Okay, let's go to the item for lab hut. Maybe I can still squeeze in another one after that. Poshia, please introduce item, is it 7.2? What was it?
Chairperson, it was 7.3. It reads, request for contract, additional costs and extension on the time for contract.
Please mute. Quiet, Poshia.
Okay, request for contract, additional costs and extension on time for contract USD WS01 2020-21 for the refurbishment of Klipgat wastewater works awarded to Water and Wastewater Technology Southern Africa Pty Ltd, Ditsimega Project and Training Pty Ltd JV. Chairperson, the item is tabled. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Group 8, please go ahead.
Chairperson, am I on the wrong link? I don't see that report.
Okay, go to section B, water and sanitation, item 7. It's in there. Back to you, our folder. You will see section B.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you. Group 8, back to you. Or over to you.
Thank you very much. My name is Steven Snotwani. I'm the Group Head for the Water and Sanitation Department. Chair, I would like to declare that I don't have any personal interest on the item under consideration and declare that I'll abide by the rules and regulations that governs the forum. Through you, I'm going to ask Refile to please introduce herself and to please take us through the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Refile Chuta, the Acting Director, Infrastructure Provision. I declare that I do not have interest on the item that is serving. I have also completed the declaration form. The purpose of the report is to request approval for additional cost on the construction of Klipgat/drying beds and the extension of time related to the construction. The contract was awarded to the service provider on 7 December 2020,
at a contract price of 198,331,551 rand for a construction period of 18 months. The site handover was on 1st February 2021, and the extension of time was granted twice within this contract. The first extension of time was from 30 July 2022 to 11 November 2022. And then the second extension of time was from 11 November 2022 to 15 May 2023. This was due to the additional buildings required on the treatment works. The scope of works is to reinstate the Klapgat wastewater treatment plant to operational capacity of 40 megaliters per day. Background regarding the circumstances leading to extension of time. Within this treatment plant, there were large drying beds in place. However, those large drying beds, they were vandalized. The total slash drying beds were 48, and we had a savings on the project, and we managed to construct one set of the drying beds. So these drying beds were not included in the initial scope because they were in place during the design stage. However, as I've mentioned, they were vandalized. On item 2, it is the design capacity of the drying beds. The slash production per day once the treatment plant is reinstated would be 20,661.8 kilogram per day of slash to be produced. And it requires an area of 22,000 square meters, which is 2.2 hectares. So the engineer has done the calculation and has supported that we construct the drying beds to prevent pollution of groundwater resources. So the works required is civil in nature, the earthworks, the reinforced concrete and brickworks, and the total cost per drying bed is 2,885,544 plus the day works. So for 5 drying beds, we are looking at 15,805,221. And the time-related cost for construction of drying beds, or maybe before talking about the cost, the duration required, it would be 6 months to construct the drying beds, and which will move the completion date to 15 November 2023. And the time-related cost is 7,173,021 rand. And in total, the cost required for the drying beds is 22,978,242, which translates to 11.6% of the contract value. As indicated, the engineer has already determined that the drying beds and the extension of time is necessary for the project. The report has been circulated to the departments. It has been recommended by finance, by legal, by EPMU. However, from supply chain, the indication is that the second extension of time, which was signed by the city manager after the lapse date, they've actually indicated that the expenditure from the 11th to date is irregular, citing that the city manager signed the second extension of time after the due completion date, which was proposed initially. So supply chain has not recommended the report on those bases. And we have communicated to supply chain to say that I'm on page 12 of the report, that the signature of the city manager actually endorses the approval of the engineer. Within the department, there were inputs provided on contract end-to-end process, which was done by organizational development or city, I think it was city strategy, working together with a supply chain. So we have provided comments on that end-to-end contract management, and we had requested that it should be aligned with the provisions of construction contract, GCC, FIDIR, JBCC, where it is clearly mentioned that the engineer has the responsibility of managing the contract on behalf of the employer. So the report was tabled at MACO on the 6th of April 2022, and it was endorsed. So we actually do not understand the comments from SCM citing that because the city manager has signed after the lapse date, then the work is considered irregular. So we have captured our inputs on page 12 of the report. So with that, the project has budget on the draft budget for 2023-24. We have made a provision for the construction of drying beds. It is therefore recommended, Chairperson, that the contract awarded to Messiah's Wastewater Technology JV Ditsemega be extended from 15 May 2023 to 15 November 2023, and the contract amount be increased by 22,978,242, which is 11.6% of the contract amount, and that the group head manages contract within the approved budget and cost center. The report is tabled, Chairperson.
Members, comments, or maybe further inputs from the department? No further inputs.
Chair, maybe SCM should just help us understand their comments and respond to the department's interpretation. And maybe my question is on, and I hope I understand this correctly, if the department can explain it to me. Is this extension as a result of vandalism that happened for work that was not included in the initial scope of this tender? Is that the correct interpretation?
That is correct, through you, Chair.
And yeah, maybe just now wearing a slightly different hat to say, as we work now, proceed forward, how then do we ensure that we're not having other parts of the plant vandalized, that we will remain in this vicious cycle of extensions, trying to repair work that was not included? I mean, say we approve today, as you are busy finalizing that work, somebody's behind you demolishing what you are doing. I know it's not an SCM question, but it's more call it a managerial question, but it's important.
Comments?
Chair, thank you. What we have done, we've requested the contractor. They now have a security on site for their new installations, but we've asked them to also assist to keep an eye on the whole plant, and that is how we are trying to manage this whole process. Thanks, Chair.
Happy days, Member Nguku.
Yeah, I'm happy, Chairperson. Thanks.
EPMU, your comments on the response by the department to the SCM comments?
Good afternoon, Chair. I think let me just first declare I'm Annalene Cronje from EPMU. I declare that I do not have any interest in the items to serve and that I will abide by the rules of the committee. Chair, yes, I think this is a point that we need to clear out. Obviously, from our point of view, with us being part of the BAC or attending BAC, we look at the items that was approved by BAC. Maybe it's a mistake from our side, but we do not have a look when the city manager signs it, because we took it as the BAC approved. And obviously we all know that sometimes there's a huge time frame between the city manager approving or signing it and then also BAC recommending it. Chair, but yes, I think what we also need to take into account is the cost involved for these extensions. The contractor is on site, and most probably it will be much cheaper for the contractor to proceed with the additional work, and at least ensuring that the plant is running at its optimal capacity. So yes, we as EPMU do support this report, Chair, and there is budget. There's budget allowed for in the current financial year. And then the department has also made provision in the draft Annexure A to proceed with this project in the next financial year. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Member Matheo, do you want to comment on this technical item?
Not for now. I hope we had a robust discussion previously in relation to the engineering's indication of being the sort of heads of the contractor on behalf of the department, and taking into account as well the date of signature of the SLA, as well as the date of the signature from the city manager's office. So I don't think I do have anything to say further in this regard, Chair. Thanks.
Because it seems the bone of contention here is that BAC approved the resolution on time, but then the CM signed off that resolution after fact. I mean, would that kind of an interpretation that says because the CM signed after the date, would that make the contract lapsed when BAC had recommended before time? I think that's really what the technicality is. Other members, maybe comments on that? Because that's really what the basis of the SCM comments are. And for that, they are suggesting that we consider this irregular expenditure. Rupert, did you not engage the DHSCM directly on this issue? Maybe.
Chair, we have engaged, especially with the acting CFO. 2 points, Chair. The first point, I think both Annelien and Refilwe indicate that the city appoints a consulting engineer to run the projects on behalf of the city. And with that, the engineer is given the full authority to make decisions, right? So the engineer already, before we even come to BAC, we come with a determination from the engineer where the engineer has made a ruling and has approved the extension of time. So what we initially used to do, so this actually, for the extension of time part, it becomes a cognizance. We used to come to BAC with a cognizance report, especially for extension of time. And BAC said, but you can't come to us with cognizance. Our job is to adjudicate. And the only reason we come into BAC so that we can have something to give to SCM and say, please revise the date on initially e-procurement. That was the only reason, because with that letter, we needed something. So the ruling has been made when we come. In fact, the chairperson, you as the chairperson, you don't have the authority to make that ruling in the first place. Neither does the city manager, because the authority lies with the engineer.
So the determination is made already, and we just come through to BAC to indicate that one, there's a revised completion date, because according to our system, we've got a certain date. That date has revised, and most importantly, then where the accounting officer maybe can make a determination is to, okay, I'm approving the budget or not. In this case, it is there. If the budget was not there, the engineer would have made a ruling to say, okay, there's this extension of time, but it comes with a certain cost. That is a portion where I think the accounting officer has to say, if the budget was not available, the accounting officer wouldn't have agreed to the cost element. I think that is the only portion that maybe the accounting officer can comment on. In this case, the budget element is also satisfied. It is available. Therefore, hence I really don't understand, especially on the extension of time. But Chair, I disagree with the comments of SCM. So when I engaged with the acting CFO, Chair, it is the acting CFO that signs. And there was one particular instance before where the acting CFO also signed before the lapsing date. But she recommended, and she's the head of finance. Remember, SCM works under the acting CFO. So I found it odd that it is the same department that recommended on that date. And they said, when they recommend, remember, they say to the accounting officer, you can sign. We think we've scrutinized this, it is in order. And the accounting officer signed and approved. Then it is the same department that comes and say it's irregular. So I found it odd, but it doesn't make sense. It's a contradiction. So, Chair, we strongly disagree with the comments from SCM. It is not correct. And it is the same department that really pushes us to complete the projects, to capitalize, to work on the assets under construction, ensure that we complete them. And in this case, in fact, this matter is under litigation. It is in court. We are having meetings, and I'm happy that Member Mozeo is part of the BAC. She knows that we are having meetings with DWS. In fact, they have appointed a council to defend the city. Klepgat is one of the wastewater treatment plants on the action plan where we are required to comply. So if we don't make a decision as the city, do the correct thing, and that's what we are trying to do to ensure that the plant runs optimally and comply. If we don't do it ourselves, the court is going to make us do it in any event at a much more expensive cost, as Annalyn has indicated. So, Chair, that is my submission. Thank you.
Members, I think I have a feeling, or it seems to me, we're second guessing our own contracts. And by second guessing them, we may well find ourselves in violation of our own contracts. But at the same time, it is difficult for BAC, I think, to just ignore a comment like that, because if you defy a comment like that that says irregular expenditure, it may well be thrown on the shoulders of BAC to say, you approved this, you take responsibility for it. I want to suggest that we, with membership on this proposal for a possible later convening, we encourage an offline discussion between SCM, the department, and maybe group legal to just look at this element, because to see if we couldn't get these comments relooked at and reviewed, because I'm somehow alive to the contract management processes and the roles of principal agents on these contracts. And that we may well be found wanting at some point. And maybe because we are not able to find each other in terms of our roles and responsibilities and the contracts, the relationship between the contracts and that we have signed when, in the context of the MFME. EPMU, I think we need your leadership here to clarify this whole contract management issue somehow in some kind of a document where we can have consistency in terms of how we apply it. Because it's clearly creating confusion and wreaking havoc in the city. So if members agree, I want to suggest that we adjourn now, and then we allow discussion between LCM and the department and group legal to see if we can get review of this issue to avoid the complications that I'm talking about. It seems like I've lost members already anyway.
I'm still here. Conclude, Chairperson. We need to go.
Yeah, so can we refer the report back for this engagement, and then and we reconvene maybe as proposed earlier, Member Motseo, Member Nkoko?
Or what time is Secretariat confirmed, Chairperson, as well?
Yeah, they're going to leave and go get comfortable at home, and then we all going to connect from there as proposed. The only challenge, I think, for them is transport that leaves. That's why they forced to leave it. Koshia, can we get a commitment that, say, from 4 o'clock, if members are ready, we can continue?
Chairperson, we can do 5, Chairperson, because we're going to leave the office at 4, and I'm going to get home at 5.
Member
So
Motseo,
5:30 will be fine.
Member Motseo will release you early so that you are able to get home early. Will that not work?
I'm sure she's listening, Chairperson.
She's still here. Looks like she's gone. Lost her as well.
Yeah, I'm leaving as well, Chairperson.
Okay, we'll handle it in the group, members. We are likely to reconvene as soon as the meeting is done, that members are going to. Meeting is adjourned. Menkadimen, you wanted to raise a point. Meeting is adjourned for now.
Good morning, Chairperson. No, I didn't want to raise a point, but I wanted to request that when that offline meeting takes place, that we be included in the meeting as human settlements. Thank you.
No problem. Noted. I think we will await the colleagues to finish with the other meeting, and then I will engage them on the group, and then we'll see what time exactly we start again. Okay. For sure. Thank you, colleagues. Later.